Your Excellency, Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Chief Secretary, and Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Chief Justice, my wife Sharon, colleagues, members of the national community. Throughout this function, I must admit that I frequently drifted away into noticing the return to this grand President's House, which we have not had the opportunity to use for this purpose for a number of years. I trust that the national community feels as welcome as I am, Your Excellency, to this location. Thank you for having us here today. As head of the government, recently sworn in, I trust that you would have noticed that there would have been some changes, not altogether earth-shattering, but significant. And permit me to mention the absence of one of our colleagues, and that is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, who is currently in quarantine and should be out by the end of the weekend. So, Excellency, with your permission, he should be sworn in sometime by Monday or thereafter. So Dr. Brown will join those of us who have already been sworn in. I ask the national community to take note of the fact that I have put the nation's children in the hands of two mothers, and I trust that they could not be better placed. The two ministers in the Ministry of Education are responsible now not just only for their own family, but for the family of children of Trinidad and Tobago. As Prime Minister, the most significant assignment that I would expect to be carried out during this period of service of these two ministers is a radical reform of the country's curriculum from primary school and into secondary school. And without waiting for the outcome of such reform, I would publicly ask that these ministers ensure that whatever revision is done, whatever reform comes about, that the whole question of citizenship, which used to be called civics, be added to the curriculum of Trinidad and Tobago, so that our education system, whatever else it does, it prepares our people for citizenship. You would also observe that we have two ministers in the Ministry of Agriculture, which is an area which this government intends to focus on, not simply satisfying the cliches of agriculture for diversification, but for searching for the next generation of farmers, because it is my view that without farmers, there will be no farming, and without farming, there will be little agriculture. The ministers during this term would be involved in doing everything that is reasonable to ensure that our agricultural lands, where they are, as they are, would be brought into production in one kind or another, and encourage a number of young people from across the country to be supported in establishing additional farms in this country and supporting farms that already exist. With respect to the portfolio carried by Mr. Hines there of youth development and national service, this is a conversation that has to take place as to what national service means. And of course it is voluntary, but it will be a pathway for young people to get involved, to be trained, and to come out of the training and pick up responsibility in a number of areas. It is tied to the return of the youth camp that we've promised in our campaigns. There will be 3 youth camps to be built, and that will be part of our development program. And the location of young people from unproductive activity in urban areas to the land in Trinidad and Tobago will be an assignment that should be carried out during this term. You would observe that our very experienced Minister of Energy is still with us at this time, and I welcome Minister Khan back to the portfolio, because at this time, in treating with our energy business, experience is valuable, and Minister Khan brings that experience and continuity for the near future. With respect to tourism, culture and the arts, I anticipate that what we do as our culture, what we prepare and present as our arts, are integral parts of whatever tourism becomes whenever it comes back to life. And I trust that during this period you will see that combination of tourism, culture and the arts. We also have sport and community development. We believe that sporting activities and all other activities of community development, there's a synergy there. And our young people in particular, we expect to see them developing communities, getting involved in community activities, of which sport is a major one. And I got a lot of public advice as to who the Minister of Finance should be. Thank you very much for the advice that you've given me. I've considered every one of it. And I came to the conclusion that at this point in time, we could hardly do better than to have a Minister of Finance who knows what is going on in the Ministry of Finance. And this is not the time for experimentation and training. So experience has taken over and continue to be useful to us, because this is a period where the challenges of financing, of budgeting, and of servicing the country is not one for the faint-hearted. And I can give the country the assurance that the current Minister of Finance is not a faint-hearted person. Your Excellency, we're starting out on a long journey. 50 months of it, or is it 60 months? 60 months of it. It's counted in months, because sometimes when you count this period in years, some people fall asleep. Rest assured that nobody in this government would be allowed to fall asleep, because conduct, performance will be reviewed on an ongoing basis. As Prime Minister, I assume full responsibility, and I want to thank the national community for giving me another opportunity to continue in public service. I want to give you the assurance, Your Excellency, that all my colleagues will observe the oath of office taken here today and to conduct the business of the people of Trinidad and Tobago in keeping with that oath. I thank you.